Welcome to Quality Policing Extra. I'm Nick Selby. Somewhere between a fifth and a half of U.S. police are wearing body cameras. It's hard to tell the exact number, but we know the number's rising. Body-worn cameras clipped to the uniform or the headgear of an officer, and they're intended to capture the officer's eye view of incidents. Body cams have been held to be the most important solution to police transparency in America. Here's South Carolina's Republican U.S. Senator Tim Scott speaking in 2015.
Today, I think I have found a solution that will help law enforcement officers and our citizens go home safe. That solution, Mr. President, are body-worn cameras to be worn by our law enforcement officers throughout this country.
And the videos from these cameras, now being captured at a rate of hundreds of thousands of hours a day, have been important. Last year, in the American jurisdictions that have body cameras, video was used by nearly every prosecutor, nearly 93% of them, in cases against civilian suspects. Know the percentage of those same prosecutors who used body camera video to prosecute cops? 8. Almost all prosecutors are using the video to prosecute civilians. Almost none of them are using them for what we thought body cameras were there for. If you think that means body cameras aren't working, well, you're wrong. The truth is, body cameras are working just fine. They're just working differently from the way people expected they would. That's a really important disconnect, because if you're concerned about how you're policed, and who isn't, you really got to know this stuff. But a lot of our national expectations on these things were formed listening to politicians who were looking to be seen as doing something. Senator Scott is a Republican, but this is a bipartisan issue. Here's Secretary Clinton last year.
We should make sure every police department in the country has body cameras to record interactions between officers on patrol and suspects. That will improve transparency and accountability. It will help protect good people on both sides of the lens.
And the media ate it up.
Many departments are trying to figure out ways to increase transparency. One popular solution, body-mounted cameras.
Body cameras billed as the ultimate transparency and protection against police encounters that go bad.
What's ironic is that Senator Scott, Secretary Clinton, and a host of other officials and the press were scaling Mount Hype much more aggressively than even the companies that sell the cameras, which found themselves in the strange position of having to temper wildly enthusiastic expectations. So for the next few minutes, we're going to ask you to put aside everything you think you know about body cameras, and we'll unpack this together. Let's start in the summer of 2014.
Don't shoot! Don't
In the
shoot!
summer of Michael Brown, of Eric Garner, of Black Lives Matter, the more we learned about police use of force, the more we, the nation, the national media, realized how little we knew about it.
I think it's embarrassing for those of us in government who care deeply about these issues, especially the use of force by law enforcement. And I cannot tell you how many people were shot by police in the United States last year or anything about the demographics, and that's a very bad place to be.
We started asking ourselves, with story after story after story in the news about cops shooting black men, how we could believe cops. In 2015, Walter Katz, the Citizen Oversight Commissioner in San Jose, California, noticed that there were no cases brought against officers in incidents where there was no video, no matter how controversial the case was. And in 2014, there were a lot of controversial cases.
Akai Gurley,
James Boyd,
Romaine Brisbane,
Tamir Rice,
Dylan Taylor,
Samantha Ramsey,
Harminder Singh Shergill,
Joseph Jennings,
David Hooks,
Christopher Roop,
Jack Hawkes, John Crawford III,
Eric Garner.
No testing! No peace!
Protesters of different ages and races demanding answers in the shooting death of 18-year-old Michael Brown at the hands of a policeman.
To many, body cameras meant that now we could see what the cop saw, we could see the scene, and when the cop lied, the video would show it. Attorney General Eric Holder and President Obama moved swiftly to get cameras on as many officers as possible.
I'm going to be proposing some new community policing initiatives that will significantly expand funding and training for local law enforcement, including up to 50,000 additional body-worn cameras for law enforcement agencies.
And then, no reduction in officer-involved shootings, no reduction in controversial incidents. See, the main expectation was that when officers had these cameras on their chests, people would be more courteous and less likely to fight, and officers would be more courteous and less likely to behave badly. That's not what happened. Even worse, there was never any evidence that it actually would happen. People just hoped that it would. Over the next couple of podcasts, we'll look at the data behind the cameras, what they can help with and what they can't, what we don't know and what we do. One thing is very clear. Body cameras are good for policing. I personally support them. I bought my first body camera with my own money in 2010. Body cameras provide lots of evidence that we've never had before about how cops and citizens behave during interactions. There's a lot of promise. And body cameras do provide transparency. What is transparent, though, is the question. Sure, we absolutely get to see more of when cops do bad things.
For the second time in less than a month, video shows Baltimore police officers allegedly planting evidence. Newly released body camera footage apparently shows officers placing drugs in a car. The alleged incident.
But most of the time, the transparency body cameras bring is evidence of civilians committing crimes. Secretary Clinton was right. Cameras do protect good people on both sides of the lens. People simply presumed that it was the cops who weren't good, but the video is showing that, in fact, transparency cuts both ways. Next time on Quality Policing Extra, the biggest problem with body camera video may well be recording it.
The big problem, of course, is that the police control the button.
And once it's recorded, the single biggest use of body-worn camera video? It might surprise you.
The single biggest block of videos that I'm aware of right now at most agencies for most officers is just sitting.
That's next time on Quality Policing Extra.